I'm very proud to welcome back today, who was here last year, Michael, who knows everything about AI, and he's going to do a very interactive session for us. So if you would like to join me in welcoming back Michael.
Well, thank you. So for those of you who brought laptops, let's open them up, because when they mean by interactive, we're actually going to be, you guys are going to be actually prompting and doing all this stuff. If you don't have a laptop, you can use your phone, but I think it'll be easier if you do have a laptop. And maybe you can all share it at the table. Oh, man, we're losing customers. All right, so what are the goals today? So the goals today are how to think in AI. Who here was last year? Who was here last year? All right, so for those of you who were here last year, has your use of AI improved or stayed the same, or you feel like you need to do something different? It's increased. But one of the challenges about using AI is it has to, I could tell you, like last year, I shared a whole bunch of prompts with everybody in terms of frameworks. But if you don't use it, if it doesn't become part of your daily habit, it won't help you. So all I tell you is, as we go through this, start to try to use this technology all the time. All right, so the flow is I'm gonna go over another framework, and we're gonna do a simulation of various roles. And the simulation is going to be a hotel in which, out of New York, so this way it's a level playing field, so since none of you will know about a New York hotel, and then it's understaffed, and each of you are gonna have to play a series of roles. And the roles that we're gonna be doing general manager, sales, guest, services, marketing, and all of you are gonna be wearing all those various hats. All right, does that sound good? Sounds exciting, right? All right, so chatbot. So I think we should all use ChatGPT if you have that one, but I know sometimes some companies don't allow you to use that. So if you're a Copilot company or a Gemini company, do that. But just get it all kind of keyed up right now as I'm talking, so we're all ready to go together. And here is the first check-in code. So guys, check in so you can get credit and get your points. It's all about the points. All right? All right, everyone got it? Oh, okay. There we go. All right, so a little bit about my company. Oh, you want your points? Yes, you got to get your points. All right, I don't want to stand in between. Now you all have earned your points. All right. So my company does three things. We do literacy. We do AI literacy fluency, sort of like what I'm doing with you today. I do discoverability in terms of helping your hotels get found on the AI engines. And last thing is helping projects scale. And I have written 2 books. So last time I just had 1 book, which is Too Many Hats, Too Little Time, but then I have another book, which is all about AI literacy. So a lot of stuff I'm talking about, and I go and talk to hotels. If you don't want me to go there and do like a 6-week session, right here in the book, and I even have an audio book done by one of the brand presidents of Wyndham, and that's available. And then most recently coming out in a couple of weeks is a book called Invisible, What to Do When AI Erases Your Business, so how to always get your hotels found. All right, so again, recap from last year, we had a really fun time. We went over about like 7 different prompts, and then we went into image generation, and we did stuff with ducks. And that was a lot of fun, and I said that the image generation wasn't very good. We all did it, and we thought it was a little frustrating. But so much has changed in 1 year. We're not going to go over image generation, but for those of you who want to know, there's this thing by Google called Nano Banana. Who here has heard of Nano Banana? Okay, a lot of you. So last year was trying to get an image generated. It wasn't exactly right, but now they say that Nano Banana is like if Photoshop Canva and InDesign have a baby, that's Nano Banana. It can pretty much create anything, and the text that last year didn't come out very well, does the text wonderfully. So that's on Google. All right, so if you're not struggling, so today I'm gonna push you guys to try new things. It's gonna be hard, and a lot of times when I talk to people, they say, it's so much easier for me just to write that letter myself. It's so much easier just to type that report myself. But the thing is, yes, initially, but as the system learns, as you learn how to interact with it, then it becomes much faster. So because it's slow initially, you're struggling to learn how to interact with it, but then once you kind of get the hang of it, it comes along. So if you're not feeling like you're struggling, that means you're not learning anything. So you always want to struggle a little bit. All right, so reasoning. So reasoning is one of the new things that has happened with this technology. And to give you an example of different levels of reasoning. All right, I'm going to throw something out there. What's 2 plus 2? All right, you see how you recalled that instantaneously. There wasn't a lot of reasoning there. It's just like you just know that. So now let's do a different one. 99 plus 2 plus 2. It took a little bit longer to get to that, but you still could do it in your head, but it took a little bit more thinking. And then if you think about 99 times 2 plus 2 minus 97, you think about it, each of those steps. And what you're feeling there is reasoning. And that's how these things work too. And the harder it has to think, the more reasoning it is, but the richer the feedback will be. So there are 3 levels. There is, and we're going to do this all together. There's low, medium, and the deepest. So here, this is what I want you guys to type. A hotel guest is upset because the room wasn't ready at check-in. Draft a response from the GM. Just type that in. And for those of you who have phones and don't have laptops, you can just take a picture of this and just kind of load it into ChatGPT, and it will, you just want to take the top part. So the first thing you say is, don't use any reasoning. And what you're going to see is we're going to do this 3 times. First, we're going to say no reasoning. Then we're going to do minimal, like lowest, medium, and deepest. So start with don't use any reasoning. And I will hop over and show you. So you see that? And then when you hit enter, it kind of spits something out pretty quickly. All right, you guys see that? So now we're going to go to lowest level. Or are you guys there? I don't want to go ahead too fast. Are you guys still working away there? Okay, a thumbs from the back. All right, so now we're going to do lowest level. So over here, if you go back to the initial prompt, you see a little pencil. You guys see that pencil? You can just click edit, and you can just do your lowest reasoning. And it will look like this one. And if you and as you do that, it comes up with a series of different prompts. As you can see here with my arrows, each of these prompts here is going to be a different one. But you can see from when you did the first one with no reasoning, just the same way we did 2 plus 2, it was very fast. It was very generic. When you do the lowest level of reasoning, it's a little bit less generic. And I'm just going to kind of skip to the next ones as you guys are doing this. So you go to the next one, which is medium. And you can see from the context here that it just starts to make it richer in terms of feedback. All you're doing, changing there, is the reasoning. From lowest reasoning to now your medium reasoning. And lastly, you do your deepest reasoning. So you just change the word before reasoning, change that adjective from lowest to medium to deepest. And when you change it to deepest, as you see the text that gets spit out, it's richer. So is everyone with me? Or people, yeah? So do you guys see the content on that has been generated in terms of seeing that it's how quickly it thinks through it? That's one thing. And if you think about how we did that example of 2 plus 2 versus the more sophisticated calculations, that's the same thing that's happening in this scenario. Does that make sense? Do you guys see in terms of the feedback that came back to you that it became much more sophisticated? So my recommendation to all of you is when you're prompting, if you want it to really think about it and to be rich, just say, use your deepest reasoning. Just kind of stick it in there. Because it's gonna spend more time and really kind of think through the steps of what you want. All right? So now we're gonna go to the next thing here. Those are the examples. All right, verbosity. So who here is prompted and it just keeps spitting out all this text? It's like way too much text. It just feels like slop, right? It just keeps generating words, because that's what this thing is. This is what this technology is a word generation machine. That's what it does. But you can kind of control that by adjusting what's called verbosity. So verbosity, you got 3 levels. Just like we did with the reasoning, you can do low, medium, and high. So like, for example, for your hotel, your particular hotel, I want you guys to try this. What time is hotel check-in at whatever your hotel is? And then we're gonna say verbosity equals low. So when you do that, instead of it kind of spitting out word, it just kind of sticks right to what you want. And I'll pause there as you guys get caught up. Does that make sense? So in these 3 different examples, you can see how it can, because again, it can get so frustrating as this technology starts to keep generate word after word after word, and then I usually just say, tighten it up. But if you manipulate the verbosity here, and you guys seeing this as you guys do it? In the back, how about you guys? You guys see how it kind of condenses the amount of content? That's powerful, right? Because sometimes it just generates way too much content. So there we go. Reasoning, when you guys are doing stuff with this technology, use your deepest reasoning. You're gonna get richer, more thoughtful, more accurate, less hallucinations. And then verbosity has to do with just being more succinct. Is that right? Are we good with that? All right. Here's a tip. Don't accept the first thing that it gives you. Always go ahead and try to refine it in terms of making it tighter, reducing the verbosity, adjusting that. All right, so now we're gonna start the simulation. You guys ready? In the back? Let's go. All right, so this is how I want you guys to think about this technology. So we're gonna go through a series of different roles. But way to think about this technology, because a lot of people are very intimidated about this because you go to the context window, which kind of looks like the Google search, and you're like, what am I supposed to put in this thing? People think it's a computer program. I don't know. Someone should tell me a prompt that I should stick in there. You hear about all these prompt libraries. But I don't think you ever really need prompt libraries. If you're all good leaders, if you're managers, which you all are, if you guys are good communicators, which I gather you all are, then this technology should be a breeze for you. It's just a matter of your perspective. So instead of thinking of it as a thing or as a computer program, think of it as a person. And if you think of it as a person, it's going to make your life so much easier. Trust me. And it's a very particular type of person. It is a remote worker. So you have this remote worker that you're talking to through this context window, but it's a very particular type of remote worker. It's their first day on the job. So you have a remote worker who's their first day on the job, and they can pretty much do anything you ask them to do. So think about it. You have somebody new, the first day, you want them to do a project. Do you just say, do this project, or do you give them a lot of information? You give them context. You tell them what is needed for. When they give it to you, do you give them feedback? That's what you do when you're a manager managing somebody and getting feedback and getting content from them. That is how you should use this. So just imagine it is like a super intelligent intern, and they can do anything you want. If it's not doing what you want, it's not the technology's fault. It's your fault for not being a good communicator. It's about communication. And to echo this a little bit further, how I want you to think about it is this blue golden triangle. It should be gold, but it's blue. But there are three things that you need to think about whenever you're prompting, whenever you're asking this remote intern that can do anything. You always need to be specific in terms of what you want it to do. What do you want it to do? Be specific. This is not Google. It is not 5 or 6 keywords and done. You're going to get very generic content that is really not valuable at all. So context. Just like the examples of that remote intern. Give them reports. I want a report that looks like this one. I need you to create a spreadsheet that comes out like this. You give them context, and then as well as examples. So we are going to use today, in this role simulation, we're going to use a framework called Trace. And Trace is going to help you. Again, you don't need to kind of think about, the T, the R, the A, the C, the E, but it is a matter to prompt you to be more specific, more detailed, to follow that golden triangle stuff, right? So let's go through this thing. The T stands for task, R is role, action, context, and expectation. So I'm going to go through this. But in terms of the golden triangle, in terms of the being specific, the task, role, and action help you to be specific. Context is context, and then expectation is the example. So task. Again, when you are prompting this intern, you're giving them a task. You're asking them to write an email, generate ideas, summarize a document. You have to give it a task. This is what you want this technology to do. And at the end, I'll have a QR code for you guys to scan. You can have the whole presentation. So you can take pictures, but you don't have to take pictures. Then the role. So again, why is role important? Because this has pretty much sucked up the entire internet into its database. And so what you want to do is you want to make it more specific. You want to hone it. You want to make it pinpoint and say, act like a lawyer, act like a copywriter, act like this. And that way it kind of pulls in its knowledge from those different sections. That's why it's important to give it a role. Again, we want to be specific. And then what is the action? What do you want it to do? With your remote intern, what do you want them to do? What is the action? Then context, we talked about this before. The background, returning group clients, New York City location. So it is all the context of what you want. And then expectation, what does success look like? What do you want it to be? So let's go through this now. The last thing. Whenever you prompt, if you're not so sure of what you want, at the end of it, just say, you know what? If there's anything unclear, ask me additional questions about this. So that way, it can say, okay, if it wasn't sure about something, it'll say, well, what did you mean by this? Or what do you need for that? So if you put something like this, improve my previous prompt to make it more detailed and specific, tell me what other information I should include. If you put that in any prompt, then the system's going to go through it, and then it'll automatically clarify it. It'll ask you to clarify specific points. See, does that make sense? In the back? All right. Okay, now simulation time. All right, here's the scenario. New York City, because I'm a New Yorker. Understaffed team, because nobody's ever worked on an understaffed team. Low occupancy, and the team needs to come together. So for this particular scenario, I made up this hotel, just to kind of give you guys a perspective. It's right by Bryant Park. Bryant Park is beautiful if you've ever been to New York. Really nice, right by the library. 5-star, independent luxury. And let's see, it's got a spa, it's got events, it's got really nice Art Deco design. So that's going to be the hotel that we're going to be using for simulation. You could just use this as part of your imagination when we're doing the prompting. All right, so here's the scenario again. And we're first going to be GMs. So this is what is great about this technology, because you can be understaffed, and you are going to wear the hat of every specific role. You can be a GM. You could be a revenue manager. You could be a marketer. You could be sales. Anybody can. Using this technology, you don't have to be trained in how to do it. You can generate the content. Now, you need the experts to maybe validate whether something is good or not, but all of you can do this, and we're going to see that right now. So all of you are going to be a GM now. All right, so here's the situation. Ready? The occupancy has dipped significantly. The team feels the slowdown, and morale needs a little lift. All right? So your goal as the GM is to inspire and re-energize the staff with a motivational message. All right? So this is the task. Write a short message for your daily stand-up. The message should motivate and not lecture, and balance realism and optimism. So let's go ahead and do this. So you're all going to be your GMs. We're going to think about the TRACE framework, and I'll show you. You guys struggle a little bit with it, and then I'll show you what to do. But again, I want you to think about the TRACE framework. You are the role of the GM now, and try to create this inspiring message for your team. You guys got that? All right, you guys doing it? So that is what I did, just to kind of give you a little bit of context, but you guys should do it yourself in terms of there's no single right way to do this, but the way is being specific, giving context. It allows it for much more robust feedback. All right. You guys working away? All right, so while you guys are doing that, I'm going to share what I got from mine, but you guys continue to do yours. This is the message that came up from my sort of prompt there. It came out and said, team, we have had slower weeks before. We've always turned them into opportunities to shine. This is one of those moments, guests walking through our doors. Let's focus on the details that define Bryant Park Regent. Stay sharp, stay kind, support each other. That was a nice little message, right? That's nice. I feel warm and bubbly. Okay. So why did I highlight these things? Anyone know what these things are that I've highlighted? They're M dashes. And why did I highlight the M dashes? Does anyone know why? Yes. So very few people know how to use an M dash accurately. If you see M dashes in any email that you receive from somebody, it's probably generated by AI. So you want to make sure that you don't send M dashes to anybody, ever. Even if you like M dashes, don't use them, because you lose a lot of credibility. So then what is a way to get rid of the M dashes? So what I do is, after I've generated content, I then write this line, go line by line and remove the em dashes. You have to say line by line because sometimes if you just say remove the em dashes, it might just remove one of them. But if you say go line by line and remove the em dashes, for those of you who did this and who had em dashes in your output, it'll clean that up. So no em dashes, ever. And people who love em dashes get upset by that. Most people don't even know how to type one. All right. So now that we have that message, you want to still refine it. So you have that message, but you're like, okay, I still need something, right? This is the human in the loop. So there are lots of things you can do. And I want you guys to pick one of these. You can say, tighten this to its essence. Make this sound more executive. Elevate the language, but keep it natural. Add warmth without losing control. Make this more emotionally intelligent. So you get just because you did a prompt and you followed the trace framework and you get something back, it doesn't mean that you're specifically done. What you want to do is continue to elaborate on it. And these are ways to elaborate on it. So have you guys tried that out? All right, you see it's interesting, right? I'm seeing nods in the back. So then we even have more. And these aren't things that you necessarily need to follow what I'm saying here, but the thing is, what you need to think about is use something like this. When you get feedback, when you get the actual results, you want to think, okay, how can I make this better? It doesn't seem to ring true, or it seems to be missing something. Or you can do this, soften the tone and show understanding. Ground this in gratitude. Make it sound like a person, not a press release. Bring out the quiet confidence instead of the hype. Weave in some human moment or sensory detail. So again, these are ways that when you get your content back, you can kind of continue to elaborate on it and make it more your own. Does that all make sense to everybody? You guys like that? You love it? You like it? Okay, you like it. All right. All right, here's a little bit more, just a couple more for you guys to try. Give this more rhythm and flow. Make it more reflective, less reactive. Simplify without losing sophistication. And end with a memorable line that lingers. Again, it is just, this technology, again, is a word processing machine. It's just going to generate words. But what you want to do is navigate it and then try to make it as specific for whatever you want to do as possible. Does that make sense? And that's all we're doing here with these follow-ups. All right, now we're going to hop over to marketing. So you guys got it with the GM? Make sense? All right, lots of nods, couple of pauses. All right, so now you're all going to be marketers. All right, everyone can be a marketer. I'm a marketer. So let's do it. All right, so here's the situation that you're all going to do in terms of your marketing, right? So it's early spring at the Bryant Park region. Occupancy is softer than expected. Midtown hotels are competing heavily for weekend leisure. Many offerings are offering similar discounts. Your commercial team has agreed to launch a signature campaign that captures attention and reinforces brand identity. So here it is. This is your challenge for you guys to use your trace framework here. You need to create a campaign that stands out from competing promotions by evoking emotion and place, not just price. The campaign should celebrate the sensory experience of staying steps away from Bryant Park during springtime while communicating tangible value. And the campaign is stay 3 nights and get a 4th free plus dining credit. So now you all are marketers. Even if you are a revenue manager, you're now a marketer. Even if you're a GM, now you're a marketer. Anyone can be a marketer if you know how to do the trace framework. Anybody. All right, so let's get to this. The task is to launch a spring campaign. The role is marketing manager, and the outcome, engaging conversational. So I want you guys to do this, and I'm going to ask somebody when they're ready to read to me what they got. So I'm going to wait for somebody to look at me and say that they're ready to share the output. And I could say, remember the trace framework, task, role, action. That is the kind of stuff that I had. But your stuff might be very different. Oh. All right, so anyone ready? I know we're moving along here. So does this all make sense, how we're approaching this? It's a repeatable format, very tactical. Just be very specific, remembering we're using that golden triangle, being specific, giving context, and giving examples. All right, someone shout out to me what you got for this spring campaign. Anyone brave? Not, oh, there's a brave person back there. Say it out loud for everybody to hear.
Okay, so where Brian Park blooms, your story begins.
That's lovely.
So awaken to spring in the heart of the city. Step into season of renewal at Brian Park region where the city's energy meets serene luxury. Stroll through the bustling park, savor the sunlight dance. So basically it's all elegant, inspiring, sensory, emotionally.
Perfect. Someone else have something they want to share and that came out a little bit differently? All right. So I'm going to share with you what came out from me. So the headline, Spring Begins at Bryant Park. The body copy, the city thaws, the park awakens, and your seat by the window is waiting. Stay there 3 nights and enjoy your 4th on us. $50 dining credit to toast the season. From terrace breakfasts to twilight cocktails, rediscover Midtown at its most serene, just steps from Bryant Park. Tagline, stay longer, feel lighter. That's pretty good, right? So this is like you are now marketers. You can all use this, but let's just say you got this feedback, right? But you're like, oh, it's still missing a little something, right? And we're talking about that before. So you can add more to that. So you can, don't just accept the first response. You always can kind of refine it a little bit. Because, again, this is one of the value adds of having all of you in a role your hotel. You bring a certain understanding, a certain critical thinking that's associated to it. And so you're like, you know what? That's good, but we need to elevate the language but keep it a little natural. So there are a number of different things to do. Bring out the quiet confidence instead of the hype. Weave in a human moment or sensory detail. All right, so do you want to read it? Add one of these things here. Do you want to read how it changes? So have people been interacting with this technology in this way that I'm describing? Have you guys been doing that? Yeah, some of you? It makes sense? All right, let's hear it. So which one did you use? All right, so you say how it kind of took your content, kept the essence of it, but then sort of redirected it. That is what this refinement is about, is to take the base of it and then just start to mold it. You guys are molding it with this prompting, all right? Let's do guest services, all right? You guys are all gonna be guest services now. You are GMs, you are marketers, now you're gonna be guest services. All right, so here's the situation. So a returning VIP guest, Ms. Laurent, stayed at the Parkview Suite last weekend. She dined in the restaurant where her meal was delayed and the service staff appeared inattentive during a busy evening. She discreetly mentioned her disappointment to the front desk. Her tone was polite but firm. She's a repeat guest, well-connected in the hospitality industry, and her expectations are high. I mean, you can imagine that this is not something you specifically want, get services, so then what are you going to do for this Ms. Laurent? So the issue to resolve here is service fell short of the hotel's usual 5-star standard during her dining experience. The delay and lack of attentiveness made her feel overlooked. And your objective now is to acknowledge the lapse with sincerity, reassure her of the corrective steps are underway, and extend a thoughtful gesture that restores trust and reinforces her VIP relationship. So you guys are now all guest services trying to recover Ms. Laurent from that not so great service experience. All right? That makes sense? You guys can all see something like that happening. So then the task here, resolve the VIP concern. Role is you want to be empathetic service ambassador, and the outcome is restore trust and guest loyalty. So using the task, the TRACE framework, this is what I generated. And again, you might just say, hey, that's ridiculous. Writing a letter to this woman, it's faster than thinking about all of these kind of components of the framework. Yes, maybe for the first time. But then if you have a second, third, fourth, or fifth issue like this, you have something like this, and you can just refine it. All right, so somebody new want to share their output in terms of what they have to save Ms. Laurent from the guest services? Up here up front, you guys.
It's a mail.
All right, here we go.
It's just a mail. Yeah.
All right, you guys gonna share or write?
It's just a mail addressing the situation about the lapses which will not be repeated, and how we will be offering any additional services to compensate on that behalf as well. And we'll try to make sure that the next expectations will be set and the standards will be set higher in the next service that we'll be providing.
All right, that is great. So this is from this prompt that I generated. This was the note that the system created for Ms. Laurent. It was, dear Ms. Laurent, thank you for taking the time to share your feedback. I truly regret that your recent experience did not reflect the level of attention and care that you've come to expect from us. Please note that we have already addressed the issue with our team to ensure it doesn't happen again. As a gesture of appreciation for your continued loyalty, our executive chef would be delighted to arrange a private tasting. So that's interesting, right? She is a VIP customer. It isn't just like you need to do something more than just like a free meal or something. It needs something to make her feel valued. And by using that framework of actually explaining that she is this VIP, it came back with that. That may not be something you might specifically thought of when you're trying to do that. That is why using a technology like this can actually help you. And then you can go through and continue to elaborate it. You get that, and you're like, okay, that's interesting, but then you can kind of elaborate it again with one of these other items. This one, grounded in gratitude, weave the human moment. So does that all make sense to you guys? Because yes, it takes a lot more time to write it all out like that. But you can see that to do something that's kind of simple is hard. You can make it like rich and a lot of detail, and it can be long. But if you want to actually convey exactly what needs to be conveyed to her to rescue that bad service experience, that was, I think, a pretty good note. And I think if she received that, she would feel definitely valued. Does that make sense? Yes. All right, so now we've been GMs. We've been marketers. We've been guest service. Now let's go to Sales. We could all be salespeople. Isn't that fun? Yes, yes. How much fun to be sales. All right, so here's the situation. Again, with this hotel. The Bryant Park region's corporate and group bookings have softened. Not that any hotel we know has ever experienced something like that. Several clients who have held clients or room blocks in the past 2 years haven't booked recently. Some have shifted to competitors, others have gone quiet. These accounts already know the property and brand but need a new reason to return. All right? So here's the challenge I put to you guys. You ready for the challenge? Here's the challenge. Reconnect with these past partners in a way that feels personal, relevant, and not purely transactional. The tone should reflect appreciation for their history with the hotel, curiosity about future opportunities, and not a generic check-in sales email. All right? Because now we're all salespeople. We just don't want to turn them off thinking that we only want their business. We want to show something new and special about our hotel. Does that make sense? Yes. So the task here is to reconnect with the past account. You want to the role is a relationship-based seller. Outcome is renewed interest and rebookings. And there's the framework. And again, this is how elaborate it was that I put it together. And here's the thing, as you guys are doing this. You guys are going through the prompting exercises. But when I come back next year, it's not going to be, this is a lot of hands on the keyboard in terms of prompting. But next year, I don't think you will really be prompting because all of your roles are going to start to change a little bit. And all of you are going to start to become what's called agent bosses. What is, you're going to have little AI agents that are a lot of these prompts that we're doing are going to be doing that, and you're going to be managing the agent to make sure it's getting the best outcome. So next year, it's going to be all about AI agent simulation. So, but I think for all of you to get there, you have to know how the prompting works, the detail works, so you can be the best guide of these AI agents that are coming in the future. So you have to understand how to do this, understand the richness and the detail. All right, anyone want to share their output that they like? All right, we got one. All right, say it out loud for everybody.
It wrote for me, I hope that this message finds you well. I have been reflecting on the great collaboration we've shared in the past, and I realize it's been too long since we've connected. Beyond any business opportunities, I truly value the relationship we've built over time and would love to catch up. It added a little bit more. I would love to hear how things have been done on your side or have been doing on your side, any exciting development, challenges, or successes. And of course, I would be happy to share what we have been working on lately and explore ways that we can continue to support each other moving forward. And at the end, it says, let's find time to connect and just have a quick call.
See, and that's great. That's better than, I hope all is well. How are you doing? We got a new ballroom. Or a ballroom's been renovated. When are you coming back? It actually feels a little bit more authentic. And I think that is ultimately what we want with this technology, is to make it feel like it's truly coming from you, not just a system-generated message. And the way to then take that note there, oh, and this is the one I got, and see how it came out with the M dash. Never any M dashes. Say it, never any M dashes. There we go. Okay, hi Jordan, I hope you've been well. Of course it says that. Since we last worked together on your spring client event, I was thinking about your team recently after seeing that your company hosted its annual leadership meeting in New York again this year. Congratulations on another great turnout. We made a few exciting updates since your last visit, including a new meeting room design overlooking Bryant Park, a refreshed F&B program by the chef. I'd love to show you around or simply reconnect to learn what's new on your 2026 calendar. Let me know if there's a good time to stop by for coffee or a quick property walkthrough. That's nice. We can all be salespeople now. Look at that. By using this technology, knowing a little bit about the customer. You know, your CRM needs to be updated with sort of what the last time they connected. and then you can go ahead and generate that. And then you can continue to tweak it like this with one of these other items. So you guys see that? You see the flow here? All right, so the last one here. We're going to finish up with revenue managers because everyone wants to be a revenue manager, right? We could all be revenue managers. We're all been GMs, marketers, customer experience people, salespeople. Now we're all revenue managers. So what is this revenue manager going to do? All right. Occupancy is dipped. That's a problem. Competitor hotels across are adjusting their weekend rates. Google hotel listings show fluctuating prices. You don't have, so here's the thing. For this scenario that I wanted to do, like you would actually have real data that you can look at in terms of your RevPAR and the STR. But this one I'm saying you're just going to go out to search. Say you don't have access to internal booking data this week only publicly visible market information. So the challenge here is your task is to identify short-term opportunities to strengthen the hotel's pricing and positioning. You need to analyze what you can see externally, interpret what it means for demand, and decide what the hotel should do next to stay competitive. Look at that. We can all be revenue managers with this technology. Isn't that great? So here's the task. Analyze booking trends. Role, data-driven strategist. Outcome, insightful, actionable forecast. We're going to use trace. And this is what I created here. So the task is identify revenue opportunities. Your role is you're a strategy analyst. Check the OTAs, Google Hotels. Now, here's something to know because you're sending it out to search the internet. You're not being very specific with this. There's a good chance it's going to hallucinate. And what hallucinate means it's going to make things up. So if it actually brings back specific pricing, you should say, check the sources on this. So you always want to double check that. But this is what it generated. And so here is the example of the output that it created for me. Across Midtown, competitors near Bryant Park have introduced spring weekend promotions, combining flexible cancellation F&B credits. Google Hotels and OTA listings show modest rate drops. Event calendars highlight increased foot traffic around Bryant Park. We can stand out by launching a short lead Spring in the Park offer featuring early check-in, a dining voucher, and flexible booking terms. Consider boosting direct visibility through Google Hotel Ads and refreshing our OTA copy. So again, this is from that prompt. It's giving you some strategic insight in terms of things to do that are actionable. By wearing the hat of the revenue manager, you guys can come up with some ideas. I've been in RevMaxes. They say, what are we going to do? Our group just washed. Well, you can leverage this technology to help you to brainstorm and by prompting like this. So again, we had roles. We changed different roles. And the roles had, based on the type of role, the tone was different. The strategy was a little bit different. And always, always, always refine your output. And I think the last thing is AI doesn't replace roles, it actually enhances. Like, as you start to learn how to use this technology, you'll realize that AI isn't going to take your job. It's going to eliminate the things about your job that you dislike the most. It's the toil. It's the repetition. It'll allow you to kind of remove the friction in those processes. And if you want to keep, the presentation, I'll send it to you guys. Just scan that. And any questions from anybody? Anything that was not clear? Anything that you question about this? Because I will tell you that prompting, using this stuff, you might say, oh my God, Michael, that is such a hassle to do all that typing. But you know what? It is, as you get used to it, you'll realize what you need and what you don't need in terms of using that framework. and it'll start to generate content that you feel is very valuable. And then when AI agents start to enter your workplace, you'll feel like, okay, I understand what it's all about. Does that make sense? So, all right, so we got 5 minutes. I can, question.
Yeah. Sorry. So
Oh.
when we do the prompting, in your example, you always put really the task. So for each point, is it recommended to also be that organized, or to write the prompt without the TA?
Yeah, no, that is just so.
For we
all right,
know-
so the question is, do you need to say, TRACE and kind of make it specific? You don't.
Just write
It is
the
more
thing.
like I was doing that for an example, but also it can tell the system sort of to be kind of clear as to what it is. But if you're clear in what you're communicating, it'll understand what it is.
Someone here?
Yeah.
Question?
Now with the personalization coming in, some of these ChatGPT engines and AI engines, you can input your customized personalization into it, right? So with
Yeah,
like M dashes and all of that, will that go away as a prompt, or?
So in ChatGPT, there's an area called custom instructions. And you can say in there, I never want to see any M dashes. I find it ignores that. It still will stick the M dashes in. So you just always review your output and then say remove line by line every M dash. So in terms of, so we played 5 different roles. But if you have one role, say you're just a marketer and you're always doing a specific thing. If you put in instructions, you are my AI, you're helping me write marketing copy, this is my type of a hotel, this is this. If you give it all the context on which we were talking about in the custom instructions in the actual AI, you can make it a little more specific. You don't have to type as much stuff because it knows. It knows you. It has the memory in there.
First, thank you so much for the presentation. Second, in terms of confidentiality, because now we're using ChatGPT or we're using different platforms. I know Copilot might be connected to our Outlook, but Copilot is not the same as ChatGPT. So in terms of confidentiality, is there anything that we can do to protect our data?
Yes, all right. So if a product is free, who is the product? You are. So with Copilot, which is part of Windows, you can say that that's relatively secure. It's like using Word or Excel. But with ChatGPT free, with Claude free, with Gemini free, if it's free, you're the product. So in that case, you want to use, if you're going to be using your company information, first of all, you should understand the governance policy of what your team has. They might say exactly what you should or shouldn't use, but if you use ChatGPT, it should be a paid version. And you can always turn off, there's a toggle in there saying, don't train on my data. So you can do 2 different things. And then additionally, if you want, there's a sort of a temporary chat on the upper right-hand corner. If there's something like super confidential that you don't want, you can just click that and it'll like disappear. It won't be part of the history. So that is what I would recommend in this situation. Although I did hear, I was talking to one of my clients the other day, they have enterprise ChatGPT. And so what the administrator told me is he can see everybody's chats. So it isn't just, so you have to think about that. If you're using it for work, use it for work. But if you have anything personal, I would say that if you're on a company account, don't use anything personal. Because this guy told me that he could see. I didn't actually know that you can see what people are prompting. So that is something to be aware of if you're on an enterprise account.
So just to clarify, if you put data into ChatGPT and you're paying, you have a paid subscription, that data is confidential?
from what ChatGPT says it doesn't train on your data, so it is not shared out. However, for example, the ChatGPT was sued by the New York Times, so as a result, they had to give all their information for everything as part of the due diligence. So even though it isn't part of the training, they had to share that. So just be aware of what you're sharing.
Yeah, very, very great.
So
It's the same for any other AI, right?
what's that?
It's the same for any other program like ChatGPT or Gemini.
I think they're all pretty much
Copilot.
they're all pretty much the same like that. But I think one of the best ones, and I know I didn't have time to do this, so who here has heard of Google Notebook LM? All right. Google Notebook LM, if you haven't used it, it is the best AI tool that is out there. Google Notebook LM, it is free. You access it with your Gmail, and okay. So I'm gonna tell you what this is. So like we did these role simulations, but I will tell you if you have a report, say you have an ownership meeting in an hour, and you have a full report and you need to get totally ready for it. You can load the report in as a source, and what it's going to do for you instantaneously, it can create a podcast about it, talking specifically about the report. It can create an infographic right away about the report. It could create a mind map. It can create a study guide. It can create a blog post. And it's all very, very good. I don't think I have it queued up here. But if you go to it, and what makes it even more powerful is say that you are doing a report, and say it's say it's New York, and you want to understand certain things about 3 different properties that are competitors in New York, and you have information about all 3 of them. You load it up, and then you say, it'll create a podcast. Will it be 2 voices that sound very human, and they're going to break it down, and they'll discuss the whole thing. And if you want, you can then, as they're talking, and say they say something you're not sure about, you can press a little button that says interactive, and you can interrupt them as they're talking and say, you know what, please elaborate on this thing that you just talked about. And they say, okay. And then they start to elaborate on that. And so it is very powerful. And so, but the best thing is like if you just have a report you have to read and you don't feel like reading the whole report, you put it in there and just say, break it down for me. And then you can load it up like when you're going to work in the morning, and you can just listen to them talk about the report, and by the time you get there, it can break it down through a mind map in terms of the outline and just hone into the specific parts. So truly, try Google Notebook LM. It is the best AI tool that's out there. You guys will love it.
Is that confidential?
It is confidential.
You need to ask these questions.
Yeah.
Is there any other questions in the room? No? Okay. Well,
right.
thank you, Michael. That was very insightful.
All right.